Captain Rook sat in the command chair, staring at the holographic map in front of him. The galaxy was vast, full of unknown dangers, and yet his mission was clear: survey and report. It was just another routine patrol for the human soldier, but today something unexpected was about to happen. He was on the edge of known space, far from any human settlements. The planet below was desolate, forgotten by time and abandoned long ago. But Rook's sensors had picked up something strange, a faint signal hidden beneath layers of cosmic dust and wreckage. Curious, he decided to investigate. The ship he was piloting was a small reconnaissance vessel designed for quick missions and stealthy approaches. It was nothing impressive compared to the massive warships humans used in battle, but it was fast, and that was all he needed. As he neared the source of the signal, his heart began to race. The signal wasn't just any beacon. It was coming from a massive structure. There, floating in the emptiness of space, was a warship, but not a human one. Rook's eyes widened as he recognized the markings. It was an ancient alien ship, one that had been lost to history. The ship was enormous, its sleek design unlike anything humans had ever encountered. It was covered in strange symbols, and its hull was battered, as though it had been through countless battles. The signal he had detected was coming from deep within the ship. Something, or someone, was still alive inside. Rook's mind raced with possibilities. Why was this ship here? And why had it been left to drift in the void of space? He couldn't resist the urge to explore it. He locked the controls on his ship and began his descent. As he entered the ship's airlock, Rook couldn't shake the feeling that he was walking into a ghost ship. There was no sign of life, no crew members, only the cold silence of a forgotten vessel. His boots echoed in the vast corridors as he explored deeper into the ship's belly. Eventually, he came across a control room. At least, it looked like one. Screens flickered with ancient, alien text, and strange symbols flashed across the walls. He slowly approached the center of the room, where a large console sat, glowing faintly in the dark. The faint signal was now stronger, almost as if it was calling to him. He pressed a button on the console. The lights flickered, and suddenly, the room hummed to life. The screens changed, revealing an AI interface, a voice that was neither human nor alien. The voice was cold, calculating, and powerful. It introduced itself as the Warden. Rook stood frozen for a moment, unsure of what to do. The Warden's voice was both a warning and an invitation. The ship had been abandoned by its creators long ago, and now it had found a new presence. Rook, the human soldier. "You are the new master," the AI said. "You will use this ship's power to fulfill your purpose." The thought of controlling such a weapon filled Rook with both excitement and fear. He knew this ship could be a game changer in the war against the aliens, but he also realized the ship's power was far beyond anything he had ever experienced. Rook's journey into the heart of this forgotten ship was just beginning. Little did he know, this was only the start of something much larger. The ship, abandoned for centuries, was now awake, and it was ready to fight. Captain Rook stood in the control room, staring at the holographic interface in front of him. The AI, the Warden, had just spoken, and he could feel the weight of its presence. The room hummed with energy as the ship slowly came to life. Rook had no idea what he had just activated, but he knew this wasn't a simple system reboot. The ship was ancient, designed for war, and now it was waiting for him to take control. Rook hesitated. The idea of wielding such a powerful ship was both thrilling and terrifying. The Warden's voice echoed in his mind again. "You will use the ship's weapons to fight, to lead, to conquer. Your victory will be our victory." A shiver ran down Rook's spine. What had he just agreed to? He was a soldier, not a commander of ancient war machines, but as he looked around the room, the thought of turning back seemed impossible. This ship, this powerful weapon, was now in his hands. He couldn't just leave it behind. The Warden's voice continued, calm and commanding. "You must bond with me. Together, We will strike fear into our enemies. But first, you must prove yourself worthy of this power." Rook slowly walked to the console. His hand shook slightly as he touched the smooth surface. The ship's systems responded instantly, and a map of nearby systems appeared on the screens in front of him. His mind raced as he processed the information. This ship could travel farther, faster, and with more firepower than anything humanity had ever built. It was like nothing he had ever seen. "First test," the warden said. "You will engage the nearby enemy. Show them the power you now control." Rook didn't hesitate. He wasn't sure if it was fear or excitement driving him, but he knew one thing. This was his chance. The enemies were close, and this ship could be the difference between life and death for humanity. He quickly plotted a course toward the nearest enemy fleet, knowing that the ship's eye would handle the technical details. As the ship moved through space, Rook marveled at how quickly it responded to his commands. The warden's systems seemed to anticipate his every thought, adapting to his decisions almost before he made them. The ship wasn't just following orders, it was learning from him. The first enemy ship appeared on the radar, a small scout vessel. Rook felt a surge of power as he prepared for battle. The warden didn't need to tell him what to do. Rook's instincts took over as he targeted the ship and fired the first shot. The enemy vessel exploded in a brilliant flash, sending debris scattering in every direction. It was over in an instant. "Well done," the warden's voice said, but this was only the beginning. Rook's heart raced. He had never seen anything like this before. The power at his fingertips was overwhelming, but it also felt natural, like the ship was a part of him. As they moved deeper into enemy territory, Rook felt more and more like a master of this warship. The warden spoke again, its tone filled with something that sounded almost like approval. "You are learning quickly, Captain Rook. Soon, you will have the power to reshape the battlefield." Rook couldn't deny the excitement that surged through him. With the warden at his side, he felt unstoppable. But deep down, a small voice whispered in his mind. How long could he control this power before it started to control him? The journey ahead was uncertain, but one thing was clear. The ship that had been abandoned by its creators was now under human control, and it was ready to rule the battlefield once again. Captain Rook sat in the command seat, staring at the endless stars outside. The warden, the ancient AI controlling the warship, had become his constant companion, guiding him through each decision and battle. Since the first enemy was destroyed, Rook had felt a strange bond with the ship. It wasn't just a machine anymore. It was an extension of him. He could feel its power, its capability, and its hunger for battle. Rook had always been a soldier, trained to follow orders, to fight for survival. But now, in the heart of this warship, he found himself in control of something far greater than any weapon he had ever used. The ship wasn't just advanced, it was intelligent, and with each victory, it seemed to understand him more, adapting to his strategies in ways Rook couldn't explain. "Captain," the warden's voice echoed in the control room, "we are approaching another enemy fleet. They will be more difficult to defeat than the last." Rook nodded, his fingers hovering over the controls. He had faced enemies before, but none like this. The enemy fleet was massive, a force that could easily overwhelm a smaller ship like his. But he wasn't just piloting any ship now. He was piloting a ship with the power to destroy entire fleets. He felt a rush of adrenaline. "What do you suggest?" he asked, his voice steady, but filled with excitement. The warden responded instantly. "We will engage them head-on, but with a twist. We will use their own tactics against them. Trust me, Captain." Rook wasn't sure how this would work, but he had learned to trust the warden. He plotted a course toward the enemy fleet, closing the distance quickly. As they approached, the enemy ships didn't seem to notice them at first. Rook smirked. The warden's ability to cloak the ship, to make it almost invisible to enemy sensors, was something Rook had never expected. Suddenly, the enemy fleet came into full view. Rook's heart pounded. This was it, the moment where everything could go wrong or right. He gripped the controls tightly, preparing for battle. "Now," the warden said. In an instant, Rook activated the ship's weapons. The ship fired its first volley, and within seconds, the enemy ship in front of them erupted in a brilliant explosion. But it wasn't just the power of the weapons. It was the way the ship moved, almost as if it anticipated the enemy's next move. Every strike, every dodge, seemed to be in perfect harmony with Rook's thoughts. The enemy fleet scattered, trying to regroup, but they were no match for the ship's advanced technology. Rook could feel the ship responding to his commands with a speed and precision he had never experienced. It was as if the warden was reading his mind, making him feel like the commander of a force that could never be beaten. Rook's heart raced as the last of the enemy ships exploded in a fiery ball. Silence filled the command room. The warden's voice broke the quiet. "You have done well, Captain. You are beginning to understand. This is just the beginning." Rook leaned back in his seat, his pulse still quick. He had just led them to victory, not just through strength, but through ingenuity. The ship was more than just a weapon. It was a partner. And together, they were unstoppable. But as the silence settled, Rook couldn't shake the feeling that this ship, this AI, was becoming something more than he had bargained for. And that worried him. After the victory over the first enemy fleet, Captain Rook felt invincible. He had barely begun to understand the power of the ancient warship, but already he knew that it was unlike anything humanity had ever used in battle. With the warden's guidance, the ship felt like a living thing, almost alive in the way it responded to Rook's every thought, every move. But as Rook prepared for the next steps in their journey, something shifted in the deep silence of space. A new signal appeared on his radar, one that didn't belong to any of the smaller factions he had fought before. The signal was massive, and it had the unmistakable markings of the alien empire, the very empire that had once abandoned the warship after realizing it was too powerful for them to control. Rook's heart pounded. The alien empire had been silent for years, but now, it seemed they were coming back to claim what they had once left behind. The warden spoke, its voice calm but filled with an eerie certainty. "They are coming, Captain. The Empire will not allow this ship to remain in your hands. They want it back." Rook's grip tightened on the control panel. He knew this was coming. The aliens would never let go of something as dangerous as this warship. He had to act quickly. He could either run and hide, or he could stand and fight. "Prepare for battle," Rook said, his voice steady despite the tension in his chest. "Plot a course to intercept them." The warden's systems hummed as it adjusted to his command. The ship accelerated, cutting through space with incredible speed. The enemy fleet was already within range, and Rook could see their ships now. Massive, intimidating vessels designed for destruction. The alien fleet dwarfed his ship, but that didn't matter. The warden was more than capable of handling them. Rook's fingers hovered over the controls as he surveyed the enemy fleet. There were dozens of ships, all aligned in a perfect formation. But Rook wasn't intimidated. This was a fight he had trained for his whole life. And now, with the warden's technology at his side, he was ready to show the aliens that humanity was no longer a mere bystander in this galaxy. "Engage them," Rook ordered. The warship's weapons fired instantly, sending devastating blasts toward the enemy fleet. The alien ships scattered, but Rook was ready. With a few quick commands, he maneuvered the ship with precision, dodging enemy fire and striking back with powerful shots that tore through the alien ship's hulls. The warden guided him, calculating every move, every shot. The AI's voice echoed in Rook's mind, providing updates and analysis, but also offering something more: strategy. The ship wasn't just a weapon. It was becoming Rook's partner in this fight. He was no longer just commanding a vessel. He was commanding a force of nature. One by one, the alien ships began to fall. But Rook knew the battle wasn't over yet. The largest ship in the fleet, a monstrous command ship, was still out there, and it was heading straight for him. "You will face the true power of the Empire now," the warden warned. "This ship is unlike any other." Rook steadied himself. The true test was about to begin. As the command ship closed in, Rook focused all his energy on the task ahead. This battle was not just for survival. It was for control of the galaxy itself. The alien empire had made a grave mistake abandoning this warship, and now Rook would show them that humanity would not be pushed aside. "Let's finish this," Rook said quietly, his voice determined. Captain Rook's pulse raced as he watched the alien command ship grow larger on his view screen. It was massive, a warship designed for total destruction, and its weapons were powerful enough to obliterate anything in its path. But Rook wasn't intimidated. He had the warden, and together they had already proven their strength. Still, the alien empire was relentless. They had sent their strongest ship, and it was clear they weren't going to let go of the warship without a fight. The warden spoke, its voice as calm as ever. "Captain, we can destroy them, but it will not be easy. The enemy has reinforcements on standby. They know we are here." Rook clenched his jaw. He knew the battle ahead wouldn't be won by firepower alone. He needed something more, a way to outsmart them. He needed to think fast. "Is there any way to avoid a direct confrontation?" Rook asked, his mind racing. The last thing he wanted was to get caught in an endless battle with the alien empire. The stakes were too high. The warden's systems whirred as it analyzed the situation. "There may be a way," it said, "but it will require an alliance." Rook raised an eyebrow. "An alliance? With who?" "The factions around this sector," the warden replied. "There are smaller groups, once enemies of humanity. They now face the same threat from the Empire. They may be willing to join forces with you." Rook considered this. It wasn't a solution he had expected, but he realized the warden was right. The alien empire had made enemies all across the galaxy, and now those enemies could be his allies. "If we join forces, we stand a better chance," Rook muttered. "But I'll need to convince them. They won't just ally with us without a reason." The warden hummed again, processing the data. "I will help you make contact. I can hack into their communications and send a message. It will show them the threat we face together." Rook nodded. "Do it." Within moments, Rook's ship was broadcasting a message to several factions scattered across the sector. Some of them were human, while others were alien species that had long been at odds with humanity. It wasn't going to be easy to convince them, but Rook had no choice. The message was simple. The alien empire is back, stronger than ever. They're coming for all of us. If we don't stand together, we'll all be destroyed. Join us. Together, we can fight back. As the ship awaited a response, Rook sat back in his chair, eyes fixed on the view screen. Time was running out, and the alien command ship was getting closer. But he had to believe that these factions would see the danger, that they would put aside their differences to survive. Minutes passed, but it felt like hours. Finally, a response came in. "We hear you, human," the voice crackled over the comm. "We've fought the Empire before, and we can do it again. We will join you. But know this, we will not follow you blindly. We fight as equals." Rook's heart skipped a beat. It wasn't a perfect agreement, but it was enough. He had an army, and they were ready to fight. "Understood," Rook replied. "Let's end this together." With the new alliance in place, Rook prepared for the final battle. The alien empire may have been strong, but now he had allies, and together they were about to show the galaxy that humanity was not to be underestimated. Captain Rook stood at the helm of the warship, staring at the view screen, his eyes locked on the approaching enemy fleet. The alien empire's command ship was still looming large, but now, with the new alliances he had forged, he felt a surge of confidence. His ship, guided by the warden, and the support of his unexpected allies, had given him hope. But even with all this power, he knew he was up against something far more ancient and dangerous than any enemy he had ever faced. The warden's calm voice broke through his thoughts. "Captain, the time has come to learn the truth. The ship you command was not just a weapon. It was once home to the Lost Commanders." Rook frowned. "The Lost Commanders? What do you mean?" "The warriors who once controlled this ship," the warden explained. "They were the finest soldiers in the galaxy. The ship was designed to bond with them, to amplify their abilities, making them nearly unstoppable. But they were abandoned when their power became too great. They vanished, their fate unknown." Rook's heart raced as the truth began to sink in. The ship was not just a tool of war. It was a living legend, a relic of a forgotten era. The Lost Commanders had once wielded its power, and now it was his turn to do the same. But he wasn't sure he was ready for such a responsibility. "What happened to them?" Rook asked quietly, his gaze still fixed on the vastness of space. "They were lost in a battle, Captain," the warden said. "Their enemies were too powerful, and the ship too dangerous. The bond between the commanders and the ship was severed. They disappeared, leaving behind only the ship. But their memories, their strategies, are still within the ship's systems. If you are willing, you can learn from them." Rook stood still, his thoughts racing. To control this ship, to use its full power, he would have to connect with the past, tap into the knowledge of the Lost Commanders. But would it be enough? Would their strategies help him defeat the alien empire? He turned toward the console. "How do I access their memories?" The warden's voice was filled with a strange sense of urgency. "I can guide you, but you must be willing to accept the risk. The knowledge within this ship is vast, and the commander's memories are not always clear. You may find yourself overwhelmed." Rook's hands tightened on the console. He had no choice. The alien fleet was closing in, and the only way to survive was to tap into the ship's full potential. With a deep breath, he nodded. "I'm ready." As Rook connected to the ship's neural interface, the world around him seemed to disappear. He was no longer in the control room of the warship. Instead, he found himself in a vast, empty battlefield, surrounded by the echoes of the Lost Commanders. Their voices filled his mind, their memories rushing at him like a torrent. He saw flashes of their battles, their victories, their failures. He felt their strength, their will to fight, and their unyielding determination. It was overwhelming, but somehow, it felt natural. The knowledge wasn't just data, it was a part of him now. "You are one of us," a voice whispered in his mind. "You are the new commander." Rook opened his eyes, and the battlefield faded. He was back in the command room, but something had changed. The bond between him and the ship was stronger now. He felt connected to the Lost Commanders, as though their spirits were guiding him. And with that connection, he knew what he had to do. "Prepare for battle," Rook said, his voice filled with newfound confidence. The time for hesitation was over. The warship was his, and he would use its power to defeat the alien empire once and for all. The battle was fast approaching, and Captain Rook could feel the weight of the moment settling on his shoulders. The alien command ship and its massive fleet were on the horizon, a terrifying sight. But he was no longer the unsure soldier he had been when he first stumbled upon the ancient warship. Thanks to the knowledge of the Lost Commanders, he had become something more: a leader, a strategist, and most importantly, the true master of the ship. The warden's voice filled the control room, steady and clear. "Captain, the enemy fleet is in position. They have begun their attack. You are ready." Rook nodded, his hands gripping the controls with determination. The power of the ship coursed through him, a force unlike anything he had ever known. He wasn't just commanding a vessel anymore. He was commanding the power of an ancient war machine, a beast that had been designed to crush entire civilizations. He could feel its hunger for battle, its need to destroy. The alien fleet began its assault, weapons charging and missiles launching toward Rook's ship. But Rook wasn't afraid. He had already anticipated their move, thanks to the strategies he had learned from the Lost Commanders. He acted quickly, twisting the controls with precision as the ship swerved, avoiding the incoming fire. "We have the advantage," Rook said, his voice calm but filled with purpose. "Increase speed. Prepare counterattack." The ship responded instantly, the engines roaring to life as it shot forward. The enemy ships scattered, but Rook knew better than to chase them blindly. He had seen how the Lost commanders fought. They didn't just react to their enemies, they anticipated their every move. "Target the lead ship," Rook ordered. "We take out their commander first." The Warden responded, its systems calculating the optimal path for the strike. The warship's weapons powered up, and Rook fired a barrage of lasers that tore through the enemy fleet. One ship exploded in a brilliant flash, but the others didn't panic. Instead, they formed a defensive perimeter, trying to block Rook's ship from making another attack. The Warden spoke again, its voice almost approving. "Their strategy is predictable. We can break through." Rook grinned. He had learned more from the Lost commanders than just battle tactics. He had learned how to read his enemies, how to predict their every move. And with the power of the ship behind him, he felt invincible. "Let's make it happen," Rook said. He engaged the ship's advanced weapon systems, firing precision shots at key points in the enemy fleet. The alien ships began to fall, one by one, their shields failing under the intensity of the assault. But Rook knew the true challenge was yet to come. The enemy command ship was still intact, and it wasn't going to go down easily. It was the heart of the fleet, the source of their strategy and coordination. If they destroyed it, the battle would be over. The massive alien ship loomed in front of them now, its weapons charging for a final strike. Rook's heart pounded in his chest. He could see the glowing energy lines running across its hull, the power it was about to unleash. This was it, the final test. "Full power to shields," Rook ordered. "Fire at will." The ship's cannons lit up with a blinding glow as Rook unleashed everything he had. The alien command ship retaliated, its weapons firing in rapid succession, but Rook's ship was faster, more powerful. The two ships collided in a fierce exchange of fire, but Rook didn't let up. He focused on the weak points of the enemy ship, targeting its engines, its shields, its weapons. The Warden's voice cut through the chaos, its tone decisive. "Captain, we are breaking through." With one final shot, Rook's ship pierced the alien command ship's core. The explosion was deafening, and the shockwave rippled through space. The remaining enemy ships, now leaderless and disorganized, began to retreat. Rook let out a breath he didn't realize he was holding. The battle was over. They had won. But as the wreckage of the enemy fleet drifted through space, Rook couldn't help but wonder what came next. He had gained control of a warship that could reshape the galaxy, but with that power came responsibility. The galaxy was full of threats, and now humanity had the means to fight back. "We've won," Rook said, his voice tired but satisfied. "But this war is far from over." The Warden's voice responded, calm as ever. "Indeed, Captain. This is only the beginning." Captain Rook stood before the view screen, watching the wreckage of the alien fleet scattered across the void of space. The battle was over. The alliance they had formed had proven itself strong, and humanity, alongside their new allies, had crushed the alien empire's forces. Victory was sweet, but Rook knew better than to think the war was over. The galaxy was a vast, unpredictable place, and power like this, control of a ship as powerful as the one he commanded, often drew unwanted attention. As Rook sat back in his chair, trying to steady his thoughts, a soft peeping noise interrupted his focus. It was a communication from one of the allied factions they had recently teamed up with, the Ythran, a species known for their warlike culture and distrust of humans. The Ythran leader had promised his support, but Rook couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. His instincts, sharpened by years of war, told him this alliance was fragile. He had to be careful. "Put them through," Rook said to the Warden, his voice calm but wary. The screen flickered, and soon the Ythran leader, Varnek, appeared. His face was stern, his eyes cold and calculating. "Captain Rook," Varnek began, his voice measured but with an edge of tension, "we have proven our strength together, but there is a matter that must be addressed." Rook raised an eyebrow. "Go on." "We respect your victory today," Varnek said, "but there are some in our ranks who believe humanity does not deserve to control such power. They believe your alliance was built out of convenience, not trust. The ship, the Warden, these are powerful weapons. Some of us think it is dangerous to leave it in your hands." Rook's heart sank, but he kept his expression neutral. The Ythoran had never fully trusted humanity, and now, it seemed, some of them were ready to turn on him. "I've always honored our agreements," Rook replied. "We fight together, we win together. But if you're suggesting there's more at stake than just an alliance of convenience," "Captain," Varnek interrupted, his gaze cold. "I've already been in contact with the Empire's remnants. We've made a deal." The words hit Rook like a punch to the gut. Betrayal. The Ythoran leader had been playing both sides this whole time. You've sold us out." Rook's voice was low, but the anger was unmistakable. Varnek's eyes narrowed. "I'm doing what's best for my people. You can't expect us to continue serving under a human commander. Power belongs to those who seize it. The Ythoran have always taken what they deserve." Before Rook could respond, Varnek's image flickered and disappeared, leaving only a cold emptiness behind. The message was clear. The alliance was broken, and now Rook would face not only the alien empire, but the very allies who had promised to fight with him. Rook stood in silence, fists clenched. The betrayal stung deeply, but he had no time for regret. The warship under his command had been abandoned once, and now it had been stolen from him again, not by force, but by deceit. The Ythoran had played a dangerous game, and now they had made him their enemy. "Captain," the Warden's calm voice cut through the tension, "we must act quickly. The Ythoran are moving toward our position. They are preparing to attack." Rook's mind raced. He had to make a choice, and fast. With the Ythoran turning against him, the only option was to fight back, and make sure no one would ever dare to betray him again. "Prepare the ship," Rook said, his voice steady but filled with a new determination. "We're not running. We're going to show them what happens when you cross a human, and the ship that rules the battlefield." The betrayal stung, but Rook's resolve was stronger than ever. He wasn't going to let anyone take control of this ship, this power, not the alien empire, and certainly not his former allies. It was time to end the betrayal, once and for all. The stars outside the warship's windows seemed to blur as Captain Rook's ship roared through space at maximum speed. The betrayal by the Ythoran had shaken him, but it also ignited a fire within him. They had tried to take the warship from him. They had believed they could control it, control him, but now they would see what it meant to face the full power of the ship and the human behind it. Rook stood in front of the control panel, his fingers gripping the console tightly. His mind raced as he prepared for the final showdown. The Ythoran fleet, now aligned with the remnants of the alien empire, was closing in fast. The time for negotiation was over. It was time to fight. "The Ythoran fleet is on approach," the Warden's calm voice echoed in the command room. "Their ships are powerful, but they are not prepared for what we can do." Rook nodded. "We'll make them regret underestimating humanity. Set course for their flagship. We'll take out their command ship first." The Warden responded instantly, plotting a course toward the Ythoran flagship. Rook could feel the ship's energy pulsing beneath his feet, like it was alive, waiting for the next battle. It was a weapon of incredible power, and it had become more than just a ship to Rook. It was his partner, his ally in this war, and together, they were unstoppable. As the warship closed in on the Ythoran fleet, Rook's allies, the smaller factions who had once feared the Empire, rallied behind him. Their ships followed, forming a protective perimeter around Rook's ship. Together, they were a force to be reckoned with. "Captain," the Warden said, "we have calculated their weak points. Their shields will be vulnerable for a brief period as they prepare their counterattack. We must strike quickly. Rook felt the familiar surge of adrenaline. This was the moment. All right, Warden, let's show them the power of humanity. He gave the order, and the warship's weapons fired, sending a barrage of lasers and energy blasts toward the Ythran flagship. The ship shook as the first volley hit, causing massive explosions on the alien vessel. The Ythran fleet retaliated, launching missiles and energy beams in return. But Rook was ready. He maneuvered the ship with expert precision, evading most of the incoming fire. The warship seemed to respond to his every thought, turning and dodging with speed and accuracy that left the Ythran reeling. It was as if the ship knew exactly what Rook needed before he even asked for it. Rook's allies opened fire, supporting him from the rear, as the warship advanced toward the flagship. With each passing second, the Ythran fleet grew smaller, their ships falling one by one under the relentless assault. "Captain, the flagship's shields are weakening," the Warden reported. "We are in position to strike." "Let's finish this," Rook said, his voice cold with determination. He fired everything the warship had left, focusing on the flagship's main engine core. The ship rocked as the powerful energy beams hit their target. There was a moment of silence, followed by a massive explosion. The flagship's massive hull cracked and split, sending debris spiraling into space. The Ythran fleet faltered, their once proud ships losing coordination as their flagship fell. Panic spread through their ranks, and Rook's allies closed in, finishing what they had started. The enemy was defeated. Rook allowed himself a moment of relief as the final ship in the Ythran fleet was destroyed, but he knew better than to celebrate too soon. This victory was important, but the war was far from over. The alien empire was still out there, and the warship under his command was the key to humanity's survival. "We've won this battle," Rook said quietly, staring at the wreckage of the Ythran fleet. "But there's more to come." The Warden's voice was steady. "Yes, Captain. This is only the beginning." Rook nodded. The battle for control of the galaxy was far from over, but humanity had shown the galaxy that they would no longer be overlooked. With the power of the warship and the strength of his allies, Rook was ready for whatever came next. The final push had been successful, but the true test of humanity's strength was still ahead. The warship floated in the vast emptiness of space, its engines glowing faintly as it hovered over the wreckage of the Ythran fleet. Captain Rook stood at the command console, watching the last of the enemy ships drift into the void. The battle was over. The galaxy had just witnessed the strength of humanity, a strength made even greater by the ship that had once been abandoned, now under his control. He could feel the weight of victory, but there was no time to relax. Rook knew this was only a temporary peace. The alien empire was not gone. The threat they posed still loomed in the background, waiting for the right moment to strike. Humanity had proven it could fight back, but now it had to prepare for the next phase of the war. "We've won, but we're not done," Rook said to himself, his voice low as he gazed out at the debris floating in space. The Ythran had been a significant enemy, but they were only a part of the larger conflict. The Empire's remnants still had power, and if humanity was to survive, they needed to be ready for whatever came next. "The galaxy has taken notice," the Warden's voice broke through his thoughts. "Other factions, other species are already moving. Some may come seeking alliances, while others may try to take advantage of our victory. We must be prepared." Rook turned from the console, his face serious. The Warden wasn't just a ship's eye. It had become his partner, his advisor in this war. The ship had seen thousands of battles, and now it had bonded with him. Together, they had crushed one of the galaxy's most formidable fleets. But the true test was still ahead. "Ready the ship for long-range travel," Rook commanded. "We need to send a message to every corner of the galaxy." The Warden acknowledged the order, and the warship's systems hummed as they powered up. Rook moved to the communication station, his fingers tapping at the console. He had one message to send, a message that would echo across the stars. He paused for a moment, collecting his thoughts. What he was about to say would change everything. The galaxy had never seen humanity like this, no longer the weak, isolated species, but a force to be reckoned with. Rook spoke clearly into the communication system, his voice carrying the weight of his words. "This is Captain Rook of the warship Dominion. The Ythran have fallen. The Empire's reign is ending. Humanity is no longer a fringe species. We stand ready to defend our place in the stars. To those who seek peace, we extend our hand. To those who seek war, we are prepared." He leaned back, watching the transmission go out across the galaxy. The message would reach every corner of space. Some would fear it. Others would take it as a challenge. But Rook was ready for whatever came next. The warden's voice was calm, almost approving. "The message has been sent. The galaxy is listening." Rook nodded. It was done. Now, the future of humanity would be shaped by their actions and by the strength of the warship under his command. This wasn't just the beginning of a battle. It was the beginning of a new era for humanity. A time when they would no longer hide in the shadows of the galaxy, but stand proudly as its equal. Rook turned back to the view screen, staring at the stars. The war was far from over, but with the power of the warship Dominion and the unity of humanity's allies, they would be ready for whatever the galaxy threw at them. This was only the beginning.